Okay, recording through the mic. Okay, yeah, I have to explain. I don't think anybody knows this but you. So I have to explain to the people watching this video that you're probably going to see this video before you saw last week's video. Because I decided to try to be cute with the video. And I did that. I had my hand over the lens and I tried to do this fade in. It ended up fooling the camera and glitching out to the point where it started recording the audio right away. But I pulled my hand back and then I sat down and it had, I don't know, confused the camera to where it did not start recording the video until a couple of seconds. So there's this lag of a couple of seconds of the video being behind the audio. Fortunately, we have a subject matter expert that we can give that video to and see if he can fix it. So, yeah, you'll be seeing this video, God willing, all goes well, before seeing last week's video. So, which is kind of ironic, because I don't know why the Holy Spirit directed Luke to record that they went to Nazareth before they went to Capernaum. Because we're going to read about Capernaum tonight and the healings he did, which, if you remember last week when he was in Nazareth, Jesus said, "You will no doubt quote this proverb to me, 'Physician, heal yourself. What you did in Capernaum, we want you to do here.'" Which, okay, you don't think about it until after. Now you're in Capernaum and he's healing a bunch of people, and I'm thinking back, well, wait a minute, he said that he was in Nazareth, referencing Capernaum, and then it made it sound like he went to Capernaum for the first time, which we're going to be covering tonight. So all of that out of the way, I'm hoping to get last week's video fixed so that I can post it, so we can have the complete collection. We lost Noah.
Oh, that's cool as that.
Okay, but yeah, so, you know, we want to say hi to everyone. We want to say hi to Julie, who's not here. We want to say hi to Janelle and Al, Stephen, Nancy, Owen, Casey, Liam, and
It starts with a Z.
our buddy Zach. You're killing me. It was the hand motion. It was the hand gesture you made. Starts with a Z. Okay. All right, let's kick it off with prayer, and then we'll head to Capernaum.
Alrighty. Dear Father, thank you so much for this evening. Thank you for this blessed opportunity to gather together as fellow believers and just to dive in and study your word, Father. And just the freedom to be able to do that. I just want to give this time to you now. Just let your Holy Spirit, Father, just work through us and teach us, and may we learn and grow. And I pray all these things now in your name. Amen.
Ready, break. Okay, so tonight, as I said, we're in Capernaum.
Nice.
We got artist rendition of Capernaum. Got another one. Capernaum was by the Sea of Galilee.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because there's a cat on the roof next to a bunch of fish.
Yeah.
So these are both artists' rendition of Capernaum. I can say this is an overhead view of the ruins of Capernaum. I got this one off the internet. Oh, got that one off the internet. Right here is a synagogue. Last week we were talking about Jesus in the synagogue. These are the ruins of a first century synagogue that was built on top of the synagogue that would have been around at the time of Christ. So this is the succeeding synagogue. And back here we got this round structure. This is actually a church. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
this is a church that is built over the ruins of Peter's home, the Apostle Peter. So, yeah, and you can see it almost looks like a skeletal structure of the foundations of the homes that were around the synagogue. Now, that one I took off the internet. This one I took. This is of the synagogue.
That thing looks really cool.
Yeah.
Man, it looks like a old school like Greek Colosseum.
Yeah. These two pictures I took.
Or I guess Egypt.
Because I was at the synagogue there. A little dark. And this, I don't even know if this is worth. I mean, this is dark. I took a picture of the foundation of Peter's home under that church. So, because we're gonna talk about Peter's home today and all of that. Would you, Mr. Tyler, like to read?
Yes.
We're going to be starting in verse 31 and go ahead and read through verse 37.
And he went down to Capernaum, a city of Galilee, and he was teaching them on the Sabbath, and they were astonished at his teaching, for his word possessed authority. And in the synagogue there was a man who had the spirit of an unclean demon, and he cried out with a loud voice, "Ha! What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent and come out of him." And when the demon had thrown him down in their midst, he came out of him, having done him no harm. And they were all amazed and said to one another, "What is this word? For with authority and power he commands the unclean spirits, and they come out." And reports about him went out into every place in the surrounding region.
Which is obviously how Nazareth heard about him. So, Capernaum. The city is Capernaum. The word Kafar means village. So this was the village of Nahum. Remember the prophet Nahum in the Old Testament. He was one of the minor prophets. It's the city is named after him, Capernaum. And we find out a little bit of historical note. Later, Jesus would pronounce a woe on this city for their unbelief, right? Kind of like he would curse the fig tree. What does Capernaum look like today? Whoa. So he cursed this city for its unbelief. And it says here, they were astonished at his teaching, for his word was with authority. What this means when it says authority. Typically when a rabbi would go around teaching, they would appeal to a previous rabbi, a more historical rabbi. Rabbi such and such, or Rabbi so-and-so says such and such. Or they would appeal to Moses. Moses wrote in the Torah such and such. They would appeal to that as the authority of their preaching. Jesus, they were astonished at him because he was preaching under his own authority. They say that a lot in Sermon on the Mount, right? Moses said to you such and such, but I say unto you, I'm telling you what's up now. Okay, verse 33, it says, in the synagogue there was a man who had the spirit of an unclean demon. And of course, we had spoken in the past that we like to try to get into the heads of the writers of the New Testament and their audience. They were all familiar with the book of Enoch. We recognize that the book of Enoch is not canonical, but it does have a lot that it can offer to us if we study it. And one of the things is this understanding that the people had about demons, and it comes from the book of Enoch, that the demons were the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, which were the offspring of the angel human hybrids. When the giants, when they perished, be it by the flood, be it by man, be it by whatever reason, they did not go into, I almost want to say Sheol, Hades, pick your destiny, because they were not fully man, they were not fully angels. The spirits kind of were left on the earth, destined to roam the earth, and they would inhabit whatever host they could find, right? We read a lot about demons in the Gospels, and we'll come upon demons again and again.
When it says unclean,
Yes.
is there clean demons? Or
Right? I didn't have that in my notes, right? It does seem kind of redundant.
I thought all demons were unclean.
I think they are. You know, it's like saying they ate a tuna fish sandwich, right? It's like, okay, all tuna is fish, so
A fish sandwich.
A fish. Okay. And he cried out with a loud voice. My New King James is a little bit different than yours in verse 34. What this demon says is, "Let us alone. You know, what have we to do with you, Jesus of Nazareth?" And how many unclean, demonically influenced people who hate the gospel, how many will say that to you when you want to share Jesus with them? Let us alone. I think it's interesting. I guess, now in the New King James Version, when there's a word that's italicized, it means it wasn't actually in the original Greek. It was implied and added by the translators. And the word "us" is italicized, so it's "let alone." And if it does mean, plural, "let us alone," we know that this was a single. This wasn't like later on we'll encounter a man who's inhabited by a lot of demons. This is a single demon. So when he says "let us alone," you think this guy is speaking for the entire synagogue. Get out of this synagogue. But he's saying, let us alone. And we see that there are people, like I said, when you want to share Jesus, leave me alone. I don't want to hear about that stuff. And I'm reminded about the story that Chuck Smith tells in the earlier days of Calvary Chapel down in Costa Mesa, when he happened to be on vacation in Hawaii, but the homosexual community picked that weekend to go down and stage a protest at Calvary Chapel, and they just stood there for hours chanting, "Leave us alone, leave us alone, leave us alone." Yeah, leave us alone. And he tells the story with kind of a hint of, "I wish I'd been there." They said that the pastoral staff was kind of grateful he wasn't there, because he probably would have been arrested. But yeah, for just hours, "Leave us alone." It's like, what kind of scene is that making? But so now what they say to what this demon says to Jesus is kind of interesting. He says, "What have we to do with you, Jesus of Nazareth?" First of all, okay, recognize he's Jesus of Nazareth. He recognizes who he really is. I mean, nobody else, they all think that he is the human-born son of Mary and Joseph, but he is saying, I know who you are, the Holy One of God. This demon recognizes Jesus as the spiritual side of him, as the Son of God. And he says, did you come to destroy us? So we discover that the demons know that their destiny is to be destroyed. That there is absolutely no hope for them because they are not human.
I wonder if that's like somewhat like angelic wisdom, because the demons, if they are the Nephilim, they were never really in heaven, right?
Right.
So then they might be able to see a spirit just from their angelic side, right?
I wonder how that works. I wonder if they have this special spiritual attunement.
Yeah, because they are part of the spirit realm. I mean, they're they're demons.
They operate in the spirit.
Yeah, we can't see them, but they're all around us in the world.
Perhaps that would not have been true when they were still giants.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But now that their bodies have been destroyed, their inner self now is still out there, and they have that kind of actuation.
I can see that.
And I was looking up the word, like Noah asked about unclean. I looked up the Strongs and some other things like defiled, religiously or like ceremonially unclean. It tends to that.
That's what I was thinking.
That word tends to be used in other places.
Yeah.
But
to his question, I don't think that there's a clean demon.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you look it up in the interlinear, the word for demon? I think it's dynamos.
Yes.
In the Greek. If you need it, it's in verse 33.
Yeah, just had to back out. Daimonial, daimonion, yeah, evil spirit, demon.
Yeah. And then, so this is what the demon was saying to Jesus. I know who you are.
Or even pagan god. That's interesting.
Demon is giving one of these to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So what is Jesus' response in the Greek? It's be muzzled. He didn't want their testimony, right? Paul with the slave girl in Acts. Come out. These men preach the word of the true God. Come out of her, because Paul didn't want their advertisement. Jesus doesn't want their advertisement, right?
That girl had a spirit in her, right?
Yeah.
Do you think
spirit of divination?
Do you think it was trying to get forgiven by telling the truth? You know what I mean? Because I've heard in
you scratch my back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember in the book of Enoch, part of it, even though it's not canon, they were like, hey, they told Enoch, hey, can you ask God to forgive us?
Yes, we were just about to get into that section.
Yeah.
On Thursday nights. Yeah, it's like they were told there's no hope for you if you do this. They did it. So then they tried to press Enoch into being their defense attorney. And please go to the Lord and plead our case for us. He's like, write down this, petition that we're going to tell you, and he writes it down, and he gets the answer that everyone's expecting. So a little bit about Jewish exorcisms, because Jesus was not the only exorcist. There were Jewish exorcisms at this time, and they would have two main methods of getting rid of demons. Number one, they would try to use fear. They would try to, first of all, get the demon to identify himself, and then now when I say you're going to ask the question, how do they know? They tried to use a demon higher up the ladder, or a spiritual entity higher up the ladder to compel that demon to leave by invoking a more powerful name. And like I said, did they have like a Cliff's Notes of demon hierarchies or whatever? Or the other one is they tried to make the host body too sick for the demon to have, so they would shove a smelly root up the demon's nose to make it so unpleasant that the demon would have to leave. And I found that out in my research of how they would expel demons. But Jesus just says, come out of him. Be muzzled, come out of him. And then he threw him down the mist, probably did a little breakdancing move, and then everyone was just amazed.
I think that's why we'll get to it too. They were so amazed when he cast the demon out of the mute person, because it's like, he didn't need like the name or anything. It's, because I know that was a main way of doing it, and it's like he just cast him out. It's like, it was mute, so it was really hard for them to cast out a demon if it was mute. That was like really difficult.
Interesting, when he casts out Legion, he does the "What is your name?"
Yeah.
My name is Legion, for we are many. So yeah, demon had thrown him in their midst. It came out of him and did not hurt him. And what kind of a story would that guy have after that? And then they were all amazed and spoke among themselves, saying, "What a word this is! For with authority and power he commands the unclean spirits, and they come out." And then the report about him. And Jesus will later on teach, with his strongman analogy, that if they have the Spirit of God inside of them, they cannot be possessed by a demon. That notwithstanding, there are people sitting in churches today that do have a demon. Remember what we said? What did we say that 2 weeks ago? We said, Satan doesn't really say, "Oh, he's in church, I guess I'll leave him alone for a while." It's like, so yeah, Satan is in our church meetings. Whenever you see someone causing division within the body or accusing the brethren, right? That's his job, that's his function. Having said that, what does Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12 tell us? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. And the lesson there is that if you are fighting against a person, you're fighting the wrong battle, right? These battles are to be fought on our knees. The Lord fights our battles, right? So, verse 38, it says, he arose from the synagogue and he entered Simon's house. Now, remember that map I showed you? That wasn't that far from the synagogue to Simon's house. Of course, those villages weren't all that big. They I'm sure everybody knew everybody, and they were all in the same fishing trade down there. Entered Simon's house, but Simon's wife's mother was sick with a high fever, and they made request of him concerning her. So he stood over her and rebuked the fever, and it left her. And immediately she rose and served them. So, first of all, I guess I just wanted to remind everyone that the Catholics forbid priests from marrying. And the Catholics also say that Peter was the first pope, and this is kind of awkward.
Whoopsie. As our friend Jimmy would say, embarrassing.
Why don't we have Jimmy in here? I know he goes off to Elk Grove. I know
I know
goes-
he's a busy guy. He's
Yes.
part of the young adult group Noah and I are
Oh.
involved in, and so
Do you guys ever post these links onto the young adult group?
I posted on Facebook, so everybody see mine.
Well, we need to get Jimmy watching these.
Yeah.
Jimmy. Jimmy.
We'll send the link to Jimmy directly.
Yeah.
Send a link to
Check
Jimmy.
them out.
We got Zach. We need Jimmy. Oh, okay. So, Simon Peter had a wife. So, she had a mother. How many people have a mother? Okay. Simon Peter's wife's mother was sick. I would point out that at this point in time, Simon Peter and Jesus were acquainted with each other, but Simon wasn't following Jesus full time. And as I mentioned last time, we get this whole other accounting of like the previous 6 to 12 months down in Judea, because Simon Peter was a disciple of John the Baptist, which is where he was first introduced to Jesus. And over time, he went back home to his fishing business up in Capernaum, and now here comes Jesus, and hey, I'm sure it's Jesus, remember me? Why don't you come out to the house and we'll have dinner and kind of thing. And he gets home and he's like, she's what? Lord, this is, can you, I saw what you just did to the guy at the synagogue. Do you think you can help my mother-in-law? And
I like
Does he
the
help the mother-in-law, though?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it says he stood over her in verse 39 and rebuked the fever, and it left her, and immediately she arose and served them.
I like what the Believer's commentary says here. I've heard this also, someone else mentioned this, point this out. The cure was not only immediate but complete, since she was able to get up and serve the household. Usually a great fever leaves a person weak and listless.
Yeah.
So she was like, not only it left her, she was immediately recovered. Like, yeah, she's getting up and
Regained strength.
Yeah.
Interesting, they use the word rebuke and
Rebuke the fever.
Yeah.
rebuke fever, and then early on
Personified the fever.
He rebuked the demon,
Mm-hmm.
and then also when he was on the boat,
Yeah.
he rebuked the waves. It's interesting because of course we talked about rebuking the waves because Satan was trying to kill him, of course.
Sure.
In that, but I just found it an interesting word choice.
I think I have a note somewhere. Yeah. Demon, he was Lord over the spiritual realm, Lord over the natural with the wind and the waves, forces of nature, Lord over us bodily, the body. I have a note here. J. Vernon McGee was once asked if he believed in divine healing, and his response was, "Is there any other kind?" Right. So I would also point out this is going to come up a couple of times in the Gospels, because in this society, if a person is incapacitated, there is no state aid. There's no welfare. They were relying on family members or the synagogue, or they were beggars. That was it. So, and I think we talked about that with the synagogue too. So, picture this day. This is Shabbat. Goes to the temple goes to the synagogue service, has that incident happen with the demoniac, goes to Peter's house, rebukes the fever for his mother-in-law, and we said, just a reminder, we said last week that their day would end at sundown. So now Saturday evening has arrived. Sun's going down. It's getting dark. So the Sabbath is over. So in verse 40, when the sun was setting, all those who had any that were sick with various diseases brought them to him, and he laid his hands on everyone. I'm sure he's still at Peter's home right now. And he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. Did you pick up on that? They were too religious to be healed on Shabbat.
Dang.
Yeah?
That is wow.
Yeah? They had to wait until it was over. And then I'm sure, do you wonder, I'm sure, and it just got done saying, he rebuked the fever, it left her, and she served them. And didn't get in trouble for serving on the Sabbath. Wouldn't that have been working?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just wonder, in this time, I'm setting the scene, in the time between, one more. In the time between leaving the synagogue, walking this far to Peter's home, wouldn't have taken long. They're over there. They're probably having a dinner. She served them, so they're probably eating a dinner. Do you think all of these people and whoever else lived in the countryside who goes to Shabbat, goes to synagogue on Shabbat, do you suppose all of these people in the ensuing hours were starting to linger outside Peter's home, starting to gather? Because they were just waiting for that sun to go down before they could ask for healing.
They might have.
But yeah, it's like, because you don't suppose that as soon as the sun went down, boom, Sabbath is over, here they come. Or were they just, he's already starting to gather a crowd. I wish Julie was here. She'd probably have some funny insight to say to that. Oy vey! But yeah. Picking up verse 41, now they all come to the house, and demons also came out of many, crying out, saying, "You are the Christ, the Son of God." I wonder if the human voices were saying that as they were coming out, or if disembodied voices were saying that. I'm just trying to paint the picture, Or did they have voices?
I would think if they're in somebody, they...
No, I'm saying after they were out.
Oh.
If they're disembodied.
Maybe, I'm sure Jesus could hear them, but I don't think anybody else could.
But it says here, he rebuking them did not allow them to speak, for they knew he was the Christ.
Oh, then they definitely didn't say anything then. They're mute.
So this is very interesting that this is going to come up again and again and again in the Gospels, and I'm going to bring it up again and again and again. How often in the New Testament being sick and having disease is juxtaposed with demons being mentioned at the same time. Now, this is not to say that the Bible establishes a formula saying that you cannot have one without the other. Because we had the woman with an issue of blood. She was sick. A demon was not involved. On the other hand, we had a demon in Legion, and the guy was not sick. In fact, he was so healthy and strong, he was breaking the chains and carving himself with rocks. But
he was mentally ill.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. But at the same time, it's one of those, you either see it or you don't. Which, and I just bring this up as food for thought, maybe even food for discussion here. We like to open up for some discussion. How often the two are brought up. One thing that is clear and biblically sound is to approach every illness as a unique situation. Doesn't necessarily, like I said, correlation is not causation, but we are wise to approach every illness as a unique situation and take the time to explore a possible spiritual connection between spiritual and physically ill. And again, it's one of those things that we can risk erring by overemphasizing one or the other, like saying in every case there is a link, like the Christian Scientists do, or we can make the mistake of ignoring possible links. So, do you have a professional opinion on that? I can open the floor up.
No, it's interesting. I think there's some causation from a standpoint of, there could be some who have mental issues. Yes, sure, it could be metabolic. It also could be, a spiritual standpoint. And I wouldn't doubt at all that there's some etiologies of illness that are it's a spiritual aspect. And
Where someone's being tormented?
yeah, somebody's being tormented. I mean, probably one of the major things would be, is if you have something that causes depression, say from a spiritual standpoint, goes from there. It can cause all kinds of secondary things to individuals. Tremendous fatigue, body aches. It's amazing what it can do, and it could be a spiritual. Sure, I think it could be a spiritual standpoint. I've seen in my practice some interesting things where I couldn't explain everything, and especially behavior that was just very, very curious. And I've had times where I've told the story, and it's probably within last year, where I walked into a room and I felt a presence, and it wasn't the Lord. And it's interesting because this individual was just doing horrible things himself and horrible things to other people too. So to answer your question, it's a long way of explaining it, but
Sure. I just bet we could have just between the two of you having different perspectives, knowing what the effects of drugs are on the body and how drugs are an entry, right? You've heard drugs are an entry.
I know they're an entry.
Yeah, but you could probably both explore this topic from different interesting perspectives.
Yeah. Sure.
So, but yeah, that's really strong of a testimony to say, that you have been in a situation where a person was not acting properly, and you could tell something else was present that you couldn't, physically detect.
Well, I have a story too. My aunt, her ex-husband, I think he had bipolar or I think that's the disorder he had. But one time he was having one of his whatever fits or whatever. Like he went after her, and she rebuked him in the name of Jesus. She's like, in the name of Jesus, I command you to stop, and he stopped.
Did he drop like a sack of potatoes?
I don't know if he dropped. Cause like I heard the story. Yeah, I heard the story secondhand from my mom.
Sure.
But yeah, it's like she rebuked him in the name of Jesus, and he stopped. So.
It's funny you talked about them trying to cast out a demon with a stronger demon.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if, like, when it comes to spiritually, some of the like psych meds work like that. Like, you put them on one, and then like it causes this side effect, so then you get this one. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Well, that's with like almost any medication. Every medication, Julie's poor dad. He was on medication, and then that would cause side effects, so he needed this medication to deal with those side effects, which would cause additional side effects that he needed to, and it was just like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
I know too, like long time ago, my wife was put on cholesterol medication by her doctor, was statin, and then she looked up and saw how nasty statins are to the body, and she's just like, no, I want nothing to do with that. Because I don't want, yeah, it might help with this side effect, but it'll give me this bundle of side effects,
Yeah, and I don't think it's always spiritual. I just wonder if there's like a spiritual aspect to it sometimes, and then other
Oh yeah,
times,
that's what I was
like,
gonna say.
Like ibuprofen just makes inflammation go down.
I wonder, this might be nothing at all, but I'm very curious now if there are medications whose names are derived from DDDs.
You know
It
what?
wouldn't surprise
I thought
me.
of that before. I ain't gonna lie to you. I did.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
And you'd
yeah.
have to look up like the universal name, right? Like it would. Like there's a lot of different names for medicines.
Oh yeah, you look at maybe the generic, yeah.
You think? Wait, is the generic the one
Well,
that?
generic is a name like, can't think of, it just, you mentioned ibuprofen, but there are a number of different trade names for that you can get. So in other drugs they can have when it's on patent, they have their name, and so you'll buy that. You can't get what we call generic. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, I know what you're saying. I figured. I used to take prescriptions and stuff, so I get it. Sometimes you get the generic, sometimes you get the brand name.
Man, and also I'm thinking, just this whole talking about this whole spiritual warfare thing going on, and what people have encountered. I bet, we could be here all night if Julie was here and you would just talk about your own personal experiences. It's like we could be, how late were you up last night? Let's see if we can break that record.
Well, what are you talking about? Like
Just things that you've experienced and seen.
11 o'clock.
Oh, that's not bad. I was like, he was at Trevor's Friday.
Yeah, he told me about that. Didn't get home till 4.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get to bed until 4.
Oh, okay.
I was.
Maybe one day we can do something on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let me see. This is just about to the end of chapter 4. We could continue the discussion. We could continue the chapter. Did you have anything?
Yeah, once we finish this chapter, I do have a discussion question.
Oh, sure. Then I'll. Well, what happens is after we finish the next couple of verses, I have a couple of parenthetical, but they're not that long. So, were you about to say something?
Oh, I was just wondering if when someone has like something in them, does it tend to speak with like plurals, like we and us and stuff like that? Like in common conversation, like you wouldn't even notice.
Sound like Venom, huh?
Kind of like, except like when someone would be like, I need some material, be like, we need some material.
Sure.
And you're just like,
I don't know.
Sometimes people, I've heard that, like, notice a voice change or something. The person sounds different.
God willing, I've never encountered anybody, so.
I haven't either, but in encounters I've heard of, it's like, yeah, there's a voice change. And
I know that Charlie has mentioned that he has actually seen someone when he develops this 1,000-yard stare that he could tell from a distance if someone is being harassed, and after rebuking the demon out of them, their countenance just night and day brightens up.
Yeah, I've never seen him leave, but like I've seen like people stare at me, and like in their pupils, there's just so much hate. Like you wouldn't believe it, man. Like it just radiates from them.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not them looking at me.
Fire
it's
in their eyes,
one
literally.
looking at me. Yeah, exactly. Fire in their eyes, but it's just all black actually.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
I used to go to, grow up going to First Free, and we have a guy come speak often at our youth retreats and stuff. You remember Greg Speck, Larry?
Okay.
Yeah, Greg Speck told this story about how he helped exorcise the demon one time. This guy had come from a satanic ritual and showed up at the. They just randomly showed up at these people's house he knew. They figured out, yeah, he was possessed, so they called him, and he's trying to try to deliver the guy. And like they're having these, he said like one point they had these really big muscular guys sitting on this guy. He's a tiny guy, and one guy sitting on each arm, and he's like lifting them off the ground. He's still raising his arms with these huge muscular guys sitting on this like skinny guy, and he kept having to he kept getting the demon out. He'd rebuke the demon, get it out, and the demon would kept immediately going back in.
Wow.
So what he did, finally, he's like, you know what I need to do? So he told him to come out in Jesus' name. Then he's like, in Jesus' name, I forbid you to go back in him. And then it stopped.
How receptive was that guy to accepting Jesus?
Is this guy like anybody like a pastor or anything, or is he just like a normal dude?
What was Greg Speck a pastor, or I mean?
That's a real good question. I know he was a youth leader, I think, at one time, right?
Yeah, that must have been before me, but like he would come and speak at like youth retreats. We'd go on like
he had some
yeah.
ministry.
He did have a ministry. I don't know what his exact title was.
That's a good question. Yeah.
But yeah, he was a really powerful speaker. He always left a big impact on us when he spoke. So
Heck yeah.
Have you guys, has Julie shared the story with you guys about the time she had a hex put on her?
Oh yeah, like high school and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Because she was in theater class,
Yeah.
and she was very unpopular in high school because of her, she was walking with the Lord. So she was very unpopular in high school. She took theater class, and there was one, I think, that she wanted to try out for, and she said God clearly told her no. And she's like, why? I really want no. And then later on, she found out that the kids that were in that particular play were having occultic activities backstage after practice and stuff like that. And we'll just have to have her tell the story. She tells the story better than I do about how she had a hex put on her and how it was removed. She's a better storyteller of that than I am. So everyone's gonna have to remind me to tell her to tell that story.
It's always the freaking theater and band people that do weird stuff. It's like, hey man, you wanna go drop some acid after band
Well,
and
it's
walk
like-
in the woods? It's like, no. What are you doing, bro?
And our nephews
We're in
are
high
going
school.
to Bristol this weekend. They're going to the Ren Fair, and I've heard from people who have been there that there is a lot of dark goings on after hours there.
Man.
So verse 42. Now when it was day, so this is probably Sunday morning. I wonder if he had been healing all night long. All night long. Now when it was day, so when it was day, he's like, I gotta go. He departed and went to a deserted place, and the crowd sought him and came to him, and they tried to keep him from leaving them. So he's their ultimate first aid kit, right? But he said to them, I must preach the kingdom of God to the other cities also, because for this purpose I have been sent. Isn't this the politically incorrect answer? If the crowd wants you to stay, what would we be like? Well, let's take up an offering. Let's see what we can get.
Encore.
Metal. And he went and he was preaching in the synagogues of Galilee. That ends Luke chapter 4. Parallel passage in Mark 1. Now in the morning, having risen a long time before daylight, so apparently he did get some sleep, he went out and departed to a solitary place, and there he prayed. And Simon and those who were with him searched for him. When they found him, they said to him, everyone is looking for you. But he said to them, let us go to the next towns, that I may preach them. Let us go. Simon, come along with me. I just picked up on that. Let us go to the next towns. He's not formally a disciple yet, but he's hanging out with him. Yeah, he came over, probably spent the night there, slept. Let us go into the next towns, that I may preach there also. Because of this purpose I have come forth. And he was preaching in their synagogues throughout all Galilee and casting out demons. Parallel passage in Matthew 4. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all kinds of sicknesses and all kinds of disease among the people. Remember, that's not mentioning demons there. Then his fame went throughout all Syria. Syria was the nation to the north of Israel. Mount Hermon territory. So, I mean, he's not just getting popular in Galilee or around the sea. I mean, it's circling out. So they brought to him all sick people who were afflicted with various diseases and torments, and those who were demon-possessed, epileptics, and paralytics, and he healed them. Great multitudes followed him from Galilee, from Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and beyond the Jordan. They're scram. How are we doing on time?
6 minutes.
7:54.
Oh, okay. Oh, we do this every time. All right. So I know you want to get to your discussion question. Maybe I'll warm up when we come back with the note. No, I can't. Let's just go to your discussion questions.
All right. So
I have plenty of notes. They'll probably come back up again, but go ahead.
I think this will be interesting to see what everyone has to say. And I'm getting this from exposition from Luke. There's some good questions in here, so I'm kind of putting a couple together. We see Jesus preaching a lot in this passage. He came preaching the good news to the kingdom, the good news of the kingdom in heaven. So the question is, do you think all Christians have a responsibility to preach the gospel, or just those with that spiritual gift? What are our thoughts on that?
Do you remember the words of Saint Francis? Said, "Preach the gospel at all times. If necessary, use words." Or I actually have it says, "Preach the gospel at all times. If necessary, use memes."
Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying in like your
Um,
Because there is a spiritual gift of evangelism, and some people are really good at that. They go out, do the street preaching,
sure,
or whatnot. And so
I am not that man.
Yeah. So do we just limit spreading the gospel to those people, to evangelists, or is that something that we should all be doing? Should we all be sharing the good news?
Everyone, hold on. What do you have to say, Tyler? You're not just the one asking the questions.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, Jesus did say, "Go and make disciples of all nations." We are supposed to take the good news to everyone, and making a disciple, it's not just getting someone to say this sinner's prayer and be like, "Okay, see ya." Like, disciple is training in the ways of Jesus. Like, you bring someone to Jesus, but then discipleship is training them in the word, teaching them, helping them to grow closer to Christ, being a mentor. That's what true discipleship is. It's not just you have a lot of these, not that I'm knocking them, these big conferences where millions of people will get saved, but if there's not someone there to disciple them, I think it's really easy for that. You get that emotional high, you accept Jesus, and it kind of peters out. You need a mentor in your life, someone to disciple you. I think that's a very important part of it.
You're using certain words that, again, remind me of something that Chuck Smith had said. Mm-hmm. And early in his ministry, he was a pastor, and he was not bearing fruit. It's because he had a small church, and he was trying to be an evangelist. So he tells the story where he would he felt sorry for the people. He's like, I would beat on these people Sunday after Sunday, preaching these sermons that could get anybody saved. But then the people were not bringing in the unsaved. He's like, I knew everybody in the church. They were already saved. And I would beat on these poor people, he said, that they're not bringing in their friends and their neighbors and all of that. And he said then God finally got a hold of him one day and pointed out to him that his calling was not as an evangelist. Do you remember this story? His calling was not as an evangelist. His calling was as a teacher, a pastor teacher. And when he embraced that and he shifted his messages, instead of berating his congregation, he began teaching. That's when he began teaching verse by verse, expository. And what ended up happening, because he was now flowing in that calling that he was called, that his people were getting healthier because they were feeding off the word. The sheep were feeding, they were getting healthier. And what do healthy sheep do? They reproduce. They started, now that they understood what the Bible said, they were having discussions with their friends and neighbors, and their friends and neighbors were like, oh, that's really interesting. I'd like to know more about it. And then that's how his church began growing. Not through evangelism, but through teaching. Because he was operating in his proper calling. So there are people who are called to be evangelists, street preachers, what have you. There are people who are called to serving ministries, and they preach the gospel without saying a word. Their heart draws people, and then, as Peter writes in his epistle, then people will ask them to share with them the hope that they have. What makes you so different, and that's the opening. That's the opportunity.
Always be ready to give an answer for the hope that we have, and as the Bible says. Now, Larry, you guys got any comments?
I was thinking when you were talking about that, I think of my wife Sue. There have been multiple times, especially recently, where she's gone in and just to get a drink, at the store, and she's just very good at asking questions and just showing an interest in the individual. And on multiple occasions, she's actually been able to pray with people, because she's, for whatever reason, she's asked. She's just that way. If you know my wife, she's we on another occasion we were actually buying a car. We had driven down to Lafayette, Indiana, by a car, and the salesperson was having, I don't know, difficulty, but just issues with marriage, and we ended up just stopping at the sale and talking for like a half an hour with them, because they
have you told that story before?
I don't know if I have.
That sounds familiar.
I might have. Yeah, I might have.
Lafayette event in Indiana, car salesman sounds familiar.
Yeah, but a lot of it was just the opportunity, but being willing to, for one, I think, not showing interest, but communicating with that individual. Because how many times do we ask, "Hey, how are you?" And
I hate that question.
As opposed to really asking and getting to that next level.
Yeah.
I think, and so kind of to answer your question, that's one way to present, as far as presenting the gospel is from a personal standpoint, really getting to that, asking, not asking really questions, but communicating with them. As opposed
sowing
to
seeds
speaking with them instead
of investment
not just
into a
speaking
person.
Yeah. Just, I thought about that when you were talking about that, because you know, I mean, many times, you know, I didn't go in thinking, oh, I'm gonna talk to this person. You had a thing that you wanted to do, whatever. And I'm thinking, get ready for that opportunity. You know, it's cool. It's real cool.
I got nothing.
No, that's okay. We just want to. If you have something to say, we want to give you the chance to speak. But if you don't, that's fine. We just want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to share.
What was the question again?
Yeah. Do you think all Christians have a responsibility to preach the gospel?
I think it's pretty much what Larry said.
What did Larry say?
Glazed over.
But just like, you know, when you have conversations with people, if you can bring the gospel up, it's one of those little times that make it like natural and not like forced. Or,
Right.
You want to hear about Jesus Christ? You know what I mean? Like, just let it flow. Or like
Sure.
like that. I think that's like the best.
If something sounds non-organic or
Yeah.
if someone comes up to me, they're gonna come across as a salesman, and I'm immediately gonna shut down.
Yeah, that's how most people are, you know?
Right.
But like if you talk for a second, y'all get deep, and then you share something like that, that's like, you can feel like, it's like the Spirit speaking through you. Like, that's just powerful sometimes.
Just yielding yourself and letting. We had that conversation last week where you had you had a conversation with a guy at work. You were feeling really run down and everything, and that just, man, energized you.
No, it was actually the opposite. I was supposed to talk to him about Christ. I didn't know it. Then I got a hint, and then like as soon as I got a hint, he started talking over, and then I forgot it. And then like instead of like, I was in a moment where like the Lord like lifted everything off of me, and you're like in your spirit 100%, like kind of like when you're at retreats and stuff. And I was meant to like, you know, talk to him about stuff like that, or at least ask him, you know. But instead I just talked about myself the whole time. Which, you know, God always likes that, you know, pride. Yeah, so then I suffered a lot the rest of the day.
Oh, wait, you said something that you wrote something in the group me that was the complete opposite.
Yeah, you know what? You probably didn't see that one. The one before that, yeah.
Oh, was it part of all those messages you deleted?
No. That was just because, like, man, when you read books, do some extra research, man. Because sometimes you're going to see that book that Taylor gave you. Mm-hmm. Look at the way he quotes some of the scriptures. Some of them are kind of like misquoted, like fit like what he's trying to say. But if you read the rest of it, it's like, actually, I don't think that means that at all. But a lot of the other things are really good about it, to be honest with you. I think it's a good book. It's just like certain things. You gotta be careful when you read any book.
It's the same thing trying to predict the future using prophecy.
Yeah, exactly.
Prophecy is not there for fortune telling.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of times you don't fully understand prophecy until after it happens.
Hindsight.
But that was because I went to that young adults group on Wednesday, and I didn't really get much from it. And then I was like a few days in a row because I missed Monday and Tuesday, so I was all burnt out. And like I don't know, I guess God sent this dude around and talked for a minute.
That's what it was.
It was a little like upraising, you know?
I've had those moments where I just...
It's like you haven't eaten 3 days,
it
gives you a cheeseburger.
Where I find out, someone at work is a believer, and we just have a 20-minute conversation, and then it just, I'm ready to go for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So, people watching the video, you can answer this question too. So leave comments. And Casey left me that comment a couple of weeks ago, and YouTube did not notify me.
Oh.
So it wasn't until like a week or so later that I noticed it. But that's the one that I tried sharing with the group me. Where he talked about the books that Jesus quoted the most. So.
Yeah, I sometimes miss group me messages because I always don't get notified.
No, I'm saying I missed the YouTube.
But then I missed when you shared it in group me because I wasn't notified.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Julie suggested that I take a screenshot of his comment, so I posted that to the group. I posted that to the group me. So yeah, people, Zach, hopefully Jimmy, anyone else wants to leave comments about what we've talked about.
Chanel, Al, Nancy,
Owen, Steven, Larry. Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, it wasn't recording. Just kidding.